Turn it up, it's the Pancake and Powerslam. Turn it up, it's the Pancake and Powerslam. Turn it up, it's the Pancake and Powerslam Show. Turn it up, it's the Pancake and Powerslam. Turn it up, it's the Pancake and Powerslam. Turn it up, it's the Pancake and Powerslam Show. Turn it up.
What is going on, everybody? This is episode 616 of the Pancakes and Powerslams Show. 616 of the Pancakes and Powerslams Show. Wow, what just continued success in this show. It's absolutely incredible, absolutely amazing. I thank you all so much for the amazing support of the Pancakes and Powerslams Show, the PNP Nation, continuing to go strong every single week, and better and bigger and more. So let's get to the topic at hand, and then of course we'll get to the questions. So I was sent the interview of Chris Van Vliet. Met Chris before, actually. He's a pro. He's definitely a pro. I'm very happy of his success, and his producer Jamil, I met him too for the first time, and man, we carried a really good conversation. We became Facebook friends, and he was just super supportive, and he's a really cool dude, this producer Jamil. And so he was able to have an interview with Chris Van Vliet, with the Velveteen Dream, kind of a tell-all interview. Chris, gets a ton of people from WWE, and so he's making some great moves, man. I'm super happy for him. He did the Velveteen Dream interview, and it was fantastic. It was a great interview. Chris was a consummate pro, and he allowed the Velveteen Dream to get out what he was. Took him 3 years basically to get out. He, of course, it stemmed from his apology video that he had, and he was able to really state his case, and in many ways. He speaking of, he said that he was able to get a lawyer and all those things. You could tell that he was being represented by somebody, because he definitely came with some receipts. And as someone who is a PhD in forensic psychology and a criminologist, criminal researcher, and know about the courts, and have a criminal justice master's degree, I'm very familiar with the courts and legal process and things like that. And man, he came with receipts. I got mad respect for him for doing that. And, he look, at the end of the day, the only people who know the truth is God, the Velveteen Dream, and the other person on the other end of the DMs, basically, that he was explaining. The 16-year-old kid at the time, he was 16-year-old. He was a 16-year-old, reached out, went to his DMs, and they had an interaction, which led to like nude photos being a thing, and it just went awry. And so he did clear the air about a lot of things. He cleared the air about the photos. He said he didn't do that. He said there wasn't any type of interaction between him that was unprofessional. He even read the statement from the guy, and the guy even admitted that there wasn't any sexual advances that he made, that the Velveteen Dream made toward him. So, if the guy in the statement admit that, and then he, basically just brutal, scrutinized them in the statement, hey, look, it could be some kind of issue that he had with him not trying to blackmail him, or he was not happy with just his advice, or he wasn't happy with maybe the Velveteen Dream didn't want to give him any more advice. Perhaps he started to grow an affinity for the Velveteen Dream or Patrick Clark that Patrick Clark didn't like. Look, that's all speculation of what could have happened, but based on the Velveteen Dream, based on Patrick Clark did say, and he brought receipts. Look, receipts don't lie. All right. That at the end of the day, if you bring receipts, that's the way that you do it. Again, I always say from a legal standpoint, a claim without evidence is unsubstantiated. So you do not bring a claim without evidence. And so anyone can claim anything and say anything every single, about anything. But if you don't bring the evidence to support the claim, it's null and void. So the Velveteen Dream came and he brought some receipts, and he did a great job. I mean, so there were a lot of things that caused me to gain the respect of the Velveteen Dream based on his actions of the interview and his receipts. Now, based on the arrest that happened about a year and a half ago, it wasn't necessarily me losing my respect, but it was some disappointment. And, and just that rock bottom moment. A lot of times people who are so just entrenched in wrestling, so wrapped up in wrestling so much, when you leave that love, it's like breaking up, it's like being in a really, really serious relationship and breaking up with someone. It has a very similar feeling to it, being attached to something that much and losing it and being basically ripped from it because he got let go. He was talking about how Canyon Seaman let him go because of budget cuts, and, the Velveteen Dream and budget cuts. I mean, that's a little difficult to believe, but they had to figure out, they had to put something behind all of the negative press that they were receiving from the Velveteen Dream at the time with all the allegations. So he did mention my name a couple of times. We'll get to these questions here. He did mention my name a couple of times, and this is how he mentioned it. He said he mentioned the Wrestling Outlaws, Chris. He brought up the EC3 episode. Well, EC3, it's a weekly show with EC3 and Vince and I, called the Wrestling Outlaws. I host, and then Vince and then EC3 are the guests. And what I do is I talk about, latest news, buzzing news. And so one of the buzzing news topics for that time, during that time period, was the arrest of Velveteen Dream. So that came up, and EC3 started to make his, started to talk about his relationship with the Velveteen Dream. And he talked about the night that the Velveteen Dream, mentioned as far as the party. And then he made a comment about the phone in the toilet, which blew up. I mean, it blew up, and it went everywhere. It went viral, and Velveteen Dream caught wind of it very quickly. He made a very spirit-filled interview response video to the EC3 saying those things. You could definitely tell he was in a lot different headspace than what he appears to be now. I can definitely tell. It definitely seems like he's a lot more calmer now. He talks about he lives on a farm, and he said he said my name as a host. He said with Vince Russo and Dr. Chris, and he said Dr. Chris Featherstone, and then he said Dr. Chris mentioned the story. So here's what I have to say about the interview and my name being mentioned. First of all, I absolutely appreciate the respect that he gave me, just in many ways, but the very fact that he didn't make any comments about me. He didn't make any comments about just because I'm affiliated, or I'm friends with both Vincent and EC3, just because I was affiliated with the show at the time. It's easy to have that guilt by association fallacy and say, look, I'm just going to throw all of them, in the pit. And, I was not an accessory, I was not an accomplice, and I'm the host. And so that's what I did. Yes, I oftentimes put in my journalistic, conjecture, at times, and a lot of, I'm an op-ed, I'm an op-ed type of journalist. One of the reasons why I'm successful in the pro wrestling world as I am now is because I write a lot. I wrote back in the day. I wrote a lot of opinion pieces, and a lot of my opinion pieces caught major waves throughout the times that I've been writing pro wrestling journalism, and that caused me to get a paid job, a very good paid job at Sportskeeda. Gave me opportunities to write at Sports Illustrated and Fox Sports and Bleacher Report. Writing for Bleacher Report for over 3 years, a lot of my pieces were opinion pieces. And I mean, that Bleacher Report writing for 3 years was one of the things that really launched me as a journalist, because I had hundreds of thousands of views, literally hundreds of thousands of views. And I was a feature columnist, so there was only a few bunch of feature columnists, and a lot of times I would get badges because my pieces would get the most views. And so that's the type of journalist I am. I'm an op-ed type of guy, and that's how I write. So I appreciate the fact that he was able to separate me as a host from EC3's, take, and, his thoughts, his contribution to that particular show. And EC3's contribution was not well received by Velveteen Dream. My opinions and my take on it, just like I do a lot, was respected. He didn't say anything negative about me at all in the interview, and I appreciate that. I respect that a lot. And the very fact that he even called, look, he called me Dr. Chris. He respected my position as a doctor. I respect that too. Like that's the thing, man. A lot of times people are like, yeah, well, a lot of marks who make comments, Chris is doing this, and like, you don't know me, dude. Like, you don't know me. We don't have that relationship. We're not cool. We're not familiar. Like, that's who I am. I'm a psychology doctor. I'm bringing a psychological context to the world of pro wrestling. So that's who I am. That's my role. That's my position. I'm more than just a journalist now. I'm also a doctor. So I'm bringing that role and that position to the world of pro wrestling. So a lot of marks are like, well, Chris is this and Chris is that. Here's the thing about marks, man. Being a psychology doctor, I find it sad and I find it funny, and I am completely unfazed by mark comments, because you have to think about it. First of all, you can't allow people to have that much power over you, and two, if people really spend so much time, which happens all the time. Look, I'm a therapist. I talk to people every day about this stuff. But at the end of the day, if there's an opinion of someone who don't even know you, who don't even want to see you win, who don't even care about your progress in life, there is zero reason for you to care about that. This is pro wrestling. This is a scripted sport of people who know the outcome of their matches, who try to invoke the feeling of the audience. All right. As a psychology doctor, as a psych guy, I love invoking feeling. Now, if you feel a certain way toward me, and again, this is wrestling. This is something I just don't care. I just don't care about. At the end of the day, if a pro wrestling mark says something bad about me in a comment section, that does nothing to me. It does absolutely nothing to me, because at the end of the day, it's someone else's opinion about me who I don't know, nor do I respect to even care about what they feel about me. So look, everybody has opinions. Like I said before, opinions are like farts. They loud, they stink, and they go away. So look, at the end of the day, people who I respect, those are the people I care about, what they think about me. And so someone who's in a position to make a statement against me that a lot of people can believe, like the Velveteen Dream, he could have said something very disparaging, and he could have, said something about my name that, people are like, oh man, that Dr. Chris guy, I mean, he's probably, horrible, but he didn't. And so I highly respect that. And so Velveteen Dream gets my applause for that interview. I think Chris Van Vliet did a phenomenal job. He was a pro. I think that Velveteen Dream, he presented himself as a pro. And he's a young cat, man. He's not even 30 yet. He's 28 years old. He's young. You know what I mean? So he was handed so much to him at a young age. And a lot of times, a lot of people still need to grow up. Like, think about it from a psychological standpoint. And from a psychological standpoint, think of it this way. Your brain doesn't even cognitively develop till between 25 and 27 years old. 1. All right. 2, you haven't even reached the peak of your cognition as far as enjoyment, a sense of enjoyment, till between 35 and 45, as far as the peak happiness for someone cognitively. Between 25 and 35 is usually when someone reaches their peak physically. Between 35 and 45 is usually when someone reaches their peak mentally. All right. So he is not even there yet. All right. So he was handed a lot of this stuff at 19, 20, 21 years old. He still had growing up to do mentally as a person. And so now he has to grow up as a person and have the responsibility of drawing and invoking the ire or the love and adoration from a crowd as a performer and as an entertainer. So he has to be Patrick Clark, the person, and grow up and mature mentally, because didn't even reach that age yet. And then he has to have the maturity and the responsibility of using the Velveteen Dream in a mature and professional way to also invoke that response from the crowd as an entertainer. That's the reason why a lot of entertainers, a lot of child stars, if you Google child stars, unfortunately, a lot of child stars end up being just mentally a wreck, because you're losing so much of yourself becoming the actor, becoming the entertainer, without really spending the time cognitively maturing and developing as a person. So it takes a lot of grounding, of spiritual grounding, and maturity and really seeking to grow and to mature as a person to really hold that position without being affected mentally. So the Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark, is no different than anybody else who was an entertainer at a young age, who became a wreck emotionally for some stage of their life, and he's no different. I mean, that's what he did, and I'm glad that he was able and is able now to reach a moment where he was like, you know what, I apologize. This is a time for me to grow up and mature as a person, as Patrick Clark. And just like any other wrestler, man, he'll rebound from this. I mean, this is, you're innocent until proven guilty. There's no allegations when it comes to this situation. The only thing that he was guilty for, was the Florida arrest, that the gym stuff, and then violating stuff, and that legal stuff. He was definitely guilty for, and he served 18 days in jail. So he did it, and I definitely think that we'll see Patrick Clark again in the ring. I hope that it's NXT, because he's talking about the Velveteen Dream is buried and he's dead. It's easy for anyone to say that initially, and I understand why he wants the Velveteen Dream to be dead, because he was explaining who the Velveteen Dream was, how cocky and arrogant he is, and how he doesn't want to be that person anymore. And I can respect that. But at the same time, it's like, look, this is a character, perhaps you're matured enough, it's still a work in process. Maybe you spend the next, I would definitely, absolutely 100% heavily suggest and recommend him going to therapy if he's not in already, like a weekly basis. Go to therapy, continue to get yourself together, man. You're gonna be all right. I can tell that you got an inner church boy in you from that interview that's just ready to come out and just share the love of Christ in the world. So there's definitely some rough edges that definitely needs to continue to grow in you, but I definitely see that inner light continuing to get brighter and brighter in his life. So kudos to him and his growth, to Patrick Clark. All right, y'all, let's get into these questions with, ladies and gentlemen, with the question cam. The question cam. All right, here we go. Let's see. Give you a question cam. The question cam. Let's see. Where we at? Here we go. All right. All right. Let's do this, y'all. What's up? Do you have the same Jordans as Reigns, the red ones? Which ones? Reigns have a lot of Jordans, and I have a lot of Jordans too. So I'm not sure which ones you're talking about. Yes, Rico returned to TV on NXT. There we go. Rico returned to TV on NXT. I did see that. Ava Raine, The Rock's daughter, is now the general manager. I was scrolling on Facebook, and I saw that The Rock's daughter is now the general manager. That's an interesting decision. Very interesting decision to make The Rock's daughter the general manager. I don't follow Ava Raine as much to know if that's a good call or not, so I really don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to my take or my opinion on if that's a good idea or not. I don't know. So, but it being the Rock's daughter, that's really interesting. You inspired me to do a Sporkle quiz on my channel. Nice. Speaking of quiz, we're going to do a WCW for the after party. We're going to do a WCW championship quiz this week, and I'm also going to share my last words that I had with my good friend Harold Hogue Ice Train. So I'm going to share my last conversation that I had with him, and it very sad to see him go. Your thoughts on the online hate for Cody being on the cover of 2K24 of WWE? Pay attention to what fans say online. Surely they're going to take that on board if it's indeed Reigns versus Cody. So I didn't even see the hate from the fans for 2K24. I'm interested to know exactly what the hate was and what they said and all that jazz. I'm interested to see what they said and what the hate was. But I mean, like I said before, man, I see Cody Rhodes. You know, I see a honeymoon phase with Cody Rhodes, man. It's sing along with Cody Rhodes, and really that's what's making him over like he is now. I thought what you, EC3, and Vince Russo said about Tony Khan on the show was very funny. Which one? What did we say? What did we say? I'm intrigued to know what we said. What part that we said was funny, because we've definitely said a lot about Tony Khan. To continue to promote PNP, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Brendan, what's up? You work with Vince Russo, Bill After. Is there any more that you want to work with next? Oh, that's a good question. On a weekly basis, man, it's just gotta gel well, you know, like for instance, I've worked with on a weekly basis, I've worked with Road Warrior Animal. It was a weekly basis. I had a mini show with Chris Masters. I had a mini show with I had a multi-part series with Chris Masters before. I've worked weekly with Road Warrior Animal, and I've worked weekly with DDP, and I've worked weekly with Road Dogg and EC3. And I would say the best, and Vince Russo, of course, and I would say, and Bill Apter. I love working with Bill. I love working with Bill Apter. Vince and I, we clown and have fun every single week. It's always fun. Road Warrior, and it was really fun. It was like it was surreal in the beginning, especially in the beginning, and it's still at times. You know, that was in the time where I was still branching away from writing and doing more just strictly podcasting, and so the money that I made was lower at the time than it is now, and so I was still kind of getting my feet wet when it comes to the podcasting with very, very prominent names. And so, of course, I've had PNP for 616 episodes, and so I've been live. I mean, I've been podcasting live. This will be 12 years in April. So I've had a lot of my podcasts featured on, I mean, it's been featured everywhere. Sports Illustrated, Fox Sports, Meltzer has given me shout outs a ton of times on his newsletters. I get tagged from sheets all the time. When I used to have my interviews and stuff, every dirt sheet has mentioned me. And so that's great. But when it came to just a weekly episodic show with like a prominent name, the Legion of Raw was really kind of first to get my feet wet. Now I would have weekly interviews, of course, with PNP. Y'all know that I would have weekly interviews, but and I would have a wrestler every week. But as far as just a weekly show, that was really kind of in the beginning, and it was with my all-time favorite tag team wrestler. So it was definitely a lot in the very beginning, but it was great though. It was great working with Road Warrior. I mean, he was just such a nice dude, man. Just a chill dude. I really, really, really enjoyed working with him. Raw on Netflix, and EC3 is cool too. That's my guy. Raw on Netflix. I'm gonna drill him though, because Velveteen Dream did really state his case very strongly, and I'm gonna, I'm someone who is not afraid of anyone. Neither am I afraid to ask hard hitting questions, as I do all the time in my interviews, and I'm gonna ask them some hard questions when it comes to responding to Velveteen Dream. Raw on Netflix next year. Your thoughts? I think it's fantastic. I think it's great business. I think streaming is the way to go. I think staying really ahead of the curve, but at least with the curve, is the way to go as far as that. So I'm all for it. Ab's in the building. What's up? Always respect your opinions and always agree with you. I appreciate that, man. Very, very, very much. Very, very much. It's cool, man. What's interesting about life? People say a lot, man. Oh, you don't always have to agree with someone. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think that's just something. I think that's just kind of like a coping phrase. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think if two people, now there can be some conflicts, of course. Maybe some prefer, because I know that's Ricky and I differ on Roman Reigns' streak. He's a huge Roman Reigns guy, and I think Roman Reigns should drop the championship, but that's minor. That's just a minor thing compared to just just having agreeableness. And agreeableness is actually one of the strongest forms of communicating with people, if you think about it from a big 5 personality traits. You have openness to experience, you have conscientiousness, you have extroversion, you have agreeableness, and you have neuroticism. Those are the big 5 personality traits. And so agreeableness is actually one of the strongest positive forms of personality of the big 5. Openness to experience is good too. Extroversion is good, but introversion is great too. But agreeableness is one of the best. Neuroticism is more like stress and worry and things like that. You have conscientiousness. That person's more of the planner, the one who kind of buckles things down. You have the openness to experience, someone who's more open to things and willing to try new things. And then you have extroversion, someone who's more like outgoing and things like that. But agreeableness is one of the best. And the problem with one of the reasons why this society just does a horrible job with communicating to each other, and people can't disagree civilly, or people can't see civil disagreements without getting butthurt about it. I mean, the pro wrestling community does that way too much. I mean, like, I got so much heat. I get heat within pro wrestling marks. Whatever. I mean, I don't care, but I got so much heat last week because I had a spirited conversation with Bill Apter. I mean, I have an opinion. I'm a very opinionated person. A lot of people who know me close know that I am very chill. I'm very stoic, but I'm very opinionated, and I am very snarky. And so that's just the type of person that I am. I'm open, I'm agreeable. I validate someone's opinion. I'm open to harmonize 2 opinions, but I'm a very opinionated person, and I don't care who you are. I will share it with you. And that's how I am. And so, I respect the heck out of Bill Apter, but I'm going to share my thoughts on something from a oftentimes logical standpoint and psychological standpoint. And the problem is, a lot of people are like, oh, you need to respect Bill Apter. I'm like, first of all, y'all don't know Bill and Apter. You don't know relationships that Bill Apter and I have away from this. A lot of times we invoke that, we have those spirited debates just to pull on the heartstrings of the butthurt commenters, And so, it's fun, man. It's fun to just, jerk the chains and pull the emotions of people, period, because you shouldn't allow me to do that. And then secondly, it's even funnier to get those comments, man. It's hilarious because people commenting that in doing that is saying that I've allowed, like, they've watched, especially a lot of these commenters, they're going to watch again. But if you think about it, these people have allowed me to influence their feelings and emotions so strongly that they spend their time making a comment on a video on the comment section. I've caused them to spend that time in their day to show their emotion, and it was so strong that they felt like they had to share it. If people think like that when it comes to a lot of these commenters, you won't get affected by it. Man, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't. I mean, they don't mean anything. They shouldn't mean anything to you. I'm glad that Mr. After finally caught a botch in the promo. We're going through recalling the old days of WWF doing Sunday night pay-per-views. You know, after, like I said last week, man, After loves the business, man. He's one of the boys, and I'm not, and neither do I care. I don't want to be. I don't want to be one of the boys. So I'm going to say more things from a psychological and neutral and balanced standpoint. Look, I'm a pro wrestling critic. I've become a pundit. I've become a critic, and that's okay. You know, there's a lot to criticize about wrestling. But the cool thing about critics, though, is that when a critic does say something positive about a sport, it must be something that is worth paying attention to. Because if someone who criticizes, who's a critic, I mean, someone who's critical all the time, that's a whole different thing. Because here's the funny thing about me. I am one of the most positive and loving and supportive and caring people and just godly people that you can know based on, you know, what others say about me. But I am like not that person when it comes to wrestling. I mean, I'm godly, of course, but still. But when it comes to positive, pro wrestling is really the only thing in my entire life that I step out of being like super positive. And that's hilarious. Again, I'm very opinionated. A lot of people agree with what I'm saying. Some people don't agree with what I'm saying. And that's the fun thing about that it's totally fine. It's totally okay that you don't agree with what I'm saying. That it's totally okay. But the crazy thing is you have adults regressing and they're responding like immature, you know, bratty high school or probably even middle school kids. And that's the part that makes me chuckle. Dynamite only. So yeah, I saw that. Like, you know, and here's the funny thing about that. But let me get to this real quick. He's one of the boys. I'm not one of the boys. He's going to say something positive about wrestling. He just wants to. He's a pro wrestling apologist. I'm a Christian apologist. I'm going to defend the faith. I'm going to defend my faith. He is a pro wrestling apologist. All right. He is going to say something about positive about pro wrestling if his life depends on it. And I've said that before. That's Bill After. He hates saying things negative about pro wrestling. And the reason why we bump heads, really don't bump heads. The reason why it seems like a clash on our show, which I think makes it even more exciting about the show. Side note. But the reason why we bump heads is because I'm very critical toward the business now. I've been watching wrestling for almost 40 years. I'm very critical of the business because the business isn't like it used to be. And the business today isn't what brought us to the dance. And that's something that's Bill After and I, we don't agree with because he's all about, he's one of the boys. He's going to defend the product until his last breath. He's going to defend pro wrestling. And again, man, I respect him, man. He's one of the boys. Do it. Defend it. That's the reason why I respect Bill After like nobody's business, man. But we bump heads because I'm like, I don't care about not offending the boys. I mean, that's just not me. Dynamite. Yeah. So this is interesting too, because Meltzer, speaking of an apologist, Dave Meltzer, and I've talked to Meltzer multiple times, and he's been super respectful to me. Meltzer is interesting. He's an interesting guy. I've interviewed Meltzer before, but speaking of apologists, Dave Meltzer is an AEW apologist. He will defend AEW to his last breath because, Meltzer will forever have a seed planted in the ground of AEW that he started, because Dave Meltzer, tweet, Cody, Roman Reigns, 10,000 all in, right? So Meltzer had that seed planted. So he has a lot to do with the birth of, he has something to do. He has a seed planted in the birth of All In, of AEW as a whole. So he's going to defend AEW. I know that he has some insiders that tells him stuff in AEW. He's the AEW apologist. But even Meltzer is talking about and criticizing ticket sales for AEW. Now, if Meltzer is criticizing ticket sales for AEW, something's up. Something's wrong here if Meltzer is criticizing it. So I heard that they're barely scrapping to make even 2,000 tickets for a Dynamite for their flagship show. I even heard the critique of WCW 2000 type of feel, and I definitely see it. I always put you over whenever I can when quoting you. I appreciate it, man. I would hope I have earned your respect. You have, my man, for sure. It's a pet peeve of mine when people don't want to respect someone's name or title. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I respect you saying that. I respect you saying that. People just want, people are just insecure, and they just don't like themselves. And if they don't like themselves, guess what? I'm a whole doctor who does this as a living. Come to me. Like, let's talk about it. Let's get this thing straightened out. Chad, what's up? Good to see you again. Always good to see you. Some people are even jealous or bitter that you've earned the right to have your name prefaced by the word doctor. Absolutely. You are correct. You are correct. Very, very true. You have seen an update on, have you seen an update on Colorado's comeback? I haven't, but I can make some texts. Tweet me at Chris Prolific. You see it right over there. Right over there. So tweet me at Chris Prolific and DM me actually, and remind me of that. Or you can message the PNP Facebook page. That would probably be better. Message the PNP Facebook page. Rollin, you didn't make the rules. Calling those who graduated PhD or an ED. Degrees doctor so-and-so is our accepted historical societal norm. This is how we do in America. My guy. Respect for that. Respect. The part of the show you were laughing about his tweet. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Some fans, speaking of laughing, I got heat for, it's fun. It's funny. It's my show. And let's talk about this real quick before we go to the after party. Here's the funny thing about that. I got heat for laughing after comments that I make during one of me and Vince Russo's shows. So so a lot of times I laugh as like a response. People say and and like, and buffer words or buffer phrases or buffer things, buffer actions. So there's a lot of times where I chuckle as just kind of like a thought transition or just like a transition of a statement. I chuckle because here's the thing about me. I used to have a really, really bad anger problem. Like for real. one of the things that's one of the biggest things about my faith and my walk with Christ is that he was able to deliver me from really bad anger. I had a huge anger problem. I had a very troubled childhood, a lot of things going on in my childhood that I, don't wish on anyone. And it really caused me to grow a lot of anger and bitterness toward life and toward people. And in high school, I had a really bad anger issue. And as I am delivered from anger problems, and anger issues is no longer an issue for me. I mean, it takes a whole lot to offend me or get angry. Like I barely ever get angry, maybe once or twice a year, if that. One of the things that I have picked up with is chuckling a lot when I'm in thoughts, or if something, is if I'm passionate about something, or if something could possibly trigger me. That's like my response of an overcame angry person. I just chuckle now. So that's just kind of like a radical changed response or act of me, oftentimes being just so angry about stuff. So now I just chuckle. So that's the context of it. But again, I got heat, just like everybody else get heat. So it is what it is. I'll be the heel to certain people. Just to clear up the video game thing, I said yesterday that Roman only shared with cover Becky Lynch in 2019. The video game was released in late 2019, but it was a 2020 video game. Okay, cool. The black and red Jordan Reigns when he took the knee when he was in the ring with Jay. Oh, okay. So those were the red and black lows. I have red and black mids similar to that. Like you said yesterday, perhaps the video game covers were for baby faces, so maybe that's why he'll share the cover with the biggest baby face at the time, Becky Lynch. Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's my take on it. It could be not true, but I mean that's my take on it. It's been very baby face-ish. Mysterio, Goldberg, Sting, AJ. It's been very baby face-ish, and so they want to protect his character. That's my theory on it. Still that black and white Godfather homage image of the bloodline with Roman Reigns flanked by Heyman, the Usos would make a great video game cover. It would. It definitely would. You got to make it stay in character, and you have to do something. You have to do something as far as like a video game, like the trailer that they have for it. The trailers are like more baby face-ish, and like I'm so happy to be graced with the cover of 2K19 or 20 or 24 or whatever. Cody even made a list of his new list. He had an indie list, but now he has a new list, and one of them was graced the cover of 2K video games. So Roman Reigns wouldn't be doing that as a heel, as one of the biggest heels, if not supposed to be billed as the biggest heel in the company. So he wouldn't do that. So. But that would be really interesting to have that heelish type of 2K. Netflix paid WWE $5 billion. I saw it was $5 billion for 10 years, I believe. Good for them, man. All for that, for sure. What did you do to get better with your faith in the Lord? I read my Bible. I prayed every day. I still do, and read my Bible every day, and just really got myself. One of the biggest things, man, is I got myself affiliated with positive people, positive, godly people. And that was one of the biggest things that helped me early in my faith, and still is. All my core friends are Christian. I have a lot of different friends. I have a ton of friends, but my inner circle are all Christian. My like inner circle, and then I have like a medium circle or an outer circle. I mean, I have a lot of non-Christian friends that I'm just, they ask for prayer, and I get an opportunity to just minister to them and just be a light. And it's a blessing. But one of the biggest things that helped me, and still to this day keep me accountable, is just being around Christian people. It's just such a it just the air is different when being around fellow believers. It just feels different. It's just the air is different. Now, granted, I love being around people. I love working with people. But just as far as my personal recharge, and I think for every believer, it should be a recharge for everybody just to be around believers and just do Christian stuff. You know what I mean? So, what you indulge, just how you act, just how you treat people, like, stay accountable with fellow believers. Great question, Av. All right, last question tonight. Some fans said Cody is the wrong choice for Cody to be on 2K24. Some said it should have been Bray. Ooh, Bray would have been good. Ooh, wow. Have they ever had a posthumous person on the cover? I don't remember. I don't remember that, but that would be interesting. All right, y'all. Let's we're heading over to the after party. Great as always. Man, I'm telling y'all, PNP, y'all have been stepping up on the chat, man. Y'all have been doing such an amazing job. Last week was amazing. This week was amazing. Man, I feel like a revival when it comes to PNP, man. Like sub count is starting to get higher. I took a big jump because PNP helped a lot of channels on Facebook. I was affiliated with several channels throughout the years that I helped their particular YouTube and Facebook channels. I would have PNP as a feature on their network, on their channels, and I would have a lot of people from PNP come to their stuff and support them and their site. And so I made a big jump, about a year ago, and I was like, you know what, man, I'm going live completely PNP. And so I appreciate all of you continuing to support me. Continue to share, share, subscribe. And here's the thing, y'all. Here's one thing I'm going to challenge all of y'all to do. All right. Because the viewership is going up the roof. Here's what's going to attract the algorithms, y'all. All right. When you like it, it attracts the algorithms. When you comment on my videos, all right, when you comment on the video, so everybody on here, everybody who watch it, write a comment on my videos, because from a YouTube algorithm perspective, I've been doing a ton of studying over the past few years when it comes to YouTube algorithms. One of the biggest things that causes someone to have a YouTube algorithm to click on the video is to have a really good thumbnail, which, I get a lot of compliments about my thumbnail game. It took a lot of work. It took some horrible thumbnails in the very beginning. It took a lot of study and a lot of research of how to really have some good graphics. And so I like making the graphics. And so those are cool. So that's a big thing as far as algorithm boost. But as far as getting my videos either in the recommendations or on the side recommendations or on the homepage, it takes liking the video and it takes commenting on the video. All right. So do me a favor, PNP Nation, like the video, comment on the video, not just a live chat that y'all do a fantastic. Actually make a comment on the video, because that's going to help me out tremendously. All right. And also share it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the sub button too. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 616 of the Pancakes and Powerslams Show. We're going to do a really, really quick after party, but it's going to be fun. Patreon.com/Pancakes and Powerslams. Last week we did the Intercontinental Champions, list of Intercontinental Champions quiz. This week we're going to do WCW Champions quiz. All right. And I'm going to quickly take your questions, and we're going to have a lot of fun. All right. Until next week, thanks for enjoy your week of wrestling. God bless. And always remember, I do it for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night, everybody. Solo.